I mean, do you feel that grades on the Moonboard are more challenging than what you would find in the wild?
Oh yeah, and there's no better jumping off point to talking about a moon board than talking about the grays, right? It's just number one in the room. So it was funny. So I posted a video of direction last night, and almost instantly Paul sent me a message, and he's like, "So it was like direction 8B V13." He's like, "So 7C plus on the 2019 set benchmark." And I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty accurate." I really find that uh, I just I just let go all grades. Just okay. I know I've been climbing on the board so long. I just know where it gets hard and where it's doable. What's in the realm. What's right at my limit. And it just at this point for me, it's problem by problem, like set by set. Whether I'm setting or I'm trying to do something that someone sent me or someone set. It's just I really focus on the individual problem, and I think you can do that at all levels. We can go into it a little bit further, but yeah, specifically from 2016 to 2019, I think everything above V10, 7C plus on the 2019 set is just okay. It's Wild West. Like it just seems like that is it's a hard cap, and if I do something, even though I feel like I can climb harder outside, I feel like my limit's a little higher. If I do something harder than a V10 on the 2019 set, I'm so excited. It's a huge session for me.
Yeah, that's rad. I like that you kind of have a perspective that like the Moonboard is its own thing, and it doesn't necessarily need to perfectly equate to grades that are outside. I guess before we get specific on the Moonboard, what is it about the Moonboard that's so special?
I think the Moonboard just hits on a bunch of different levels for the versatility, for like the universal nature of setting and being able to connect with people from all over the world. That I would never have such a close connection with all of these South Korean climbers if it weren't for the board or connecting through Instagram or trying each other's problems and things like that. So that community aspect is huge. And then specifically for me, for like training purposes, it gives my fingers the feeling of campusing without, sometimes the monotony of campusing. And it gives my core um, a good feeling of getting worked and engaged in a way that sometimes commercial gym sets don't give me.
Sure. Looking at the beginner here, so people who are in that V3 to V5 range, maybe something along those lines on the Moonboard specifically, because that may equate to tougher grades even outside. Um, but it could
Yes.
also include people who are just sitting down to touch the Moonboard for the very first time. What do you see there? What are some common challenges for us beginners, and what advice do you have for us there?
Just start by climbing on it. Just climb on it, treat it as a spray wall. Don't even put the lights on. Just try to maybe get to the top, feel out some holds, feel out some grips, positions. It's designed on that straight angle and with the holds and the volume of the holds, like the lower profile, the smaller holds. Like even if you are just climbing on it, just to get to the top, you're still going to be engaging your fingers, your core, and you're going to be finding out and developing some skill there. If there's some lights on and maybe you're walking up and like you said, people are crushing or they have, their own little thing going and they don't seem bothered to explain to you, jump on and just try to touch your hands to the lights that are up. If it's like a V4, V5, there's a bunch of lights on. Just grab the lights with your hands. Don't worry about the feet. Use any feet and just start getting that muscle memory. Start getting those reps on the board. And that's something I still do. So it can go into intermediate, into advanced. I think it's a great way to get your brain working for setting as well. What moves am I drawn to? Everyone has their individual style, and you want everyone's perspective on the board. So if you're naturally like, oh, I love doing big crossover moves, or I like starting with an undercling and doing a small move set up to a big move, like these are things that, I've climbed so many problems on the Moonboard that I get done climbing them and I'm like, I never would have thought of that. This is great. It's amazing. So it's a great way to get your brain working if you're just kind of freestyling on the board.
Cool. Cool. I love it. All right. What else in the beginner territory here that you see people either as a common pitfall or just some advice, some sage advice from the guru here for the Moonboard?
Yeah. So I have, once you're kind of in it, this is, you have the app. It's maybe part of your training, part of your weekly. You do it once a week, twice a week. You're more up to speed with how everything works. I would say climb the benchmarks, but don't overlook the non-benchmarks. Sort by non-benchmarks, sort by most repeated. Um, you'll start to get a lot of momentum in those problems, and typically the benchmarks are maybe they highlight a specific move or something that's tough or some extra tension within that grade, whereas let's say if you're on the 19 set and you sort by most repeated V3s, you might get some similar movements and some easier movements and things like that that you can use to build up your base as you go on. That's a piece of advice that's a through line to beginner, intermediate, and advanced, is that just explore other things outside the range where you're maybe plateauing or where you're maybe stuck. I get a bunch of messages where, hey, I'm kind of stalling out on this grade, or I have maybe a couple benchmarks left, but my advice is always to explore other non-benchmarks, lower grades, higher grades. Seems counterintuitive.
All right, let's talk about intermediate and those common pitfalls or those challenges that they're going to be facing most commonly on the Moonboard.
Yeah, try not to become an Icarus with your style. Don't push your style so far that you're not addressing your weaknesses. And what I mean by that is, okay, let's say I'm really good at big moves on the Moonboard. I'm really great at just hitting big moves to bigger holds on the board. I can power through them, but I am climbing maybe V8 in that range, and I still have a few V5 benchmarks that are ticky-tacky small, require some delicate footwork or some accurate movement to smaller holds with adjustments. Don't shy away from those. I'd say that's a pitfall, because now all you're doing is just reinforcing what you're good at. Again, getting outside the comfort zone. It's not just beginner, it's intermediate, it's advanced. You need to work on those weaknesses.
Hey, do you want to get better at moonboarding? Yeah, I'm asking you right there. Do you want to get better at moonboarding? Well, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ravioli Biceps sat down with me for a 90-minute pro clinic on all things moonboard, going through beginner, intermediate, and advanced techniques and tactics on how to use the moonboard to level up your climbing game, to train, and also to just get out there and have fun ticking off benchmarks. I learned so much from this pro clinic, you guys. I went from struggling to even be able to hold on to any of the holds to now struggling to be able to send a V5, but that's a huge jump on the Moonboard, and I'm really, really loving it. You can sign up right now for Patreon as a patron for free. You can just check it all out as a trial member and see what you think. You can listen to this entire Ravioli Biceps episode, but also gain access to more than 30 hours of other content, including exclusive stuff with Chris Sharma, Alex Honnold, Nina Williams, Dr. Tyler Nelson, Alex Johnson, Jordan Cannon. We've got a ton of pro clinics and a ton of bonus content, as well as videos like the one that I just posted with Dave McLeod. So swing over to Patreon, check it out, and level up that Moonboard game.